We're talking about the living water, and we're talking about the woman at the well, and how Jesus asked her for water, and Jesus told her that he was the Messiah, because the woman had said, well, I know the Messiah is coming, and he's called Christ, and when he comes, he will tell us all things. And Jesus said, I who speak to you am he. So how do you explain how she finally understood?
Well, here's what I think of it. This to me means Messiah. This is you because you're coming into the hand of God. So if you're like this, you don't know who the Messiah is. Is Jesus the Messiah of your life? But here is God. So your friends start talking about him. Friends start talking, believing. And you're slowly coming into the hand of God once again. So the woman, at first, Jesus wants her to try to figure out who he really is. Now, this is the woman, this is God. It starts here when Jesus comes to the well, and he wants the woman, asks the woman for a drink. But she's a Samaritan and he's a Jew, so she questions, why are you talking to me? You're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan. So she comes closer into the subject of how Jesus said, bring me your husband. And she says, I have no husbands. Jesus says, you had 5 husbands. Which Jesus comes into her, telling her that he is the Messiah. So she's slowly developing into the hand of God.
Yes. And so I love how you were saying when you're far apart and God, you're on one end and God is on the other, you don't know.
Yeah, because if God is to the east is to the west, how do you know? So this is you, this is God. How do you know? Well, you can't even reach each other.
Right.
So it's hard to get to each other. Because if your east is to the west, you're pulling this way and you're pulling the other way. They're going further. God stays where he was.
Yes.
He was where the person was in. But the person is the one moving.
Yes, away.
Away from God. So God is left behind. But then, when friends talk about God, and that's one thing, brings it closer. When you start going to church a few times a month, that's another step. So God is slowly developing a little bit closer, saying, come to me. I'll give you rest and peace and living water. Then starts going to church more. Another big step. God is staying where he is now. The person needs to come to God. God does not need to move. The person needs to come into God.
Right.
So, going to church a few weeks, that's another step. Crossing the line, another step.
Well, that's a huge step. When you cross the line, that's the step.
The step. Crossing the line is the step in God. So then,
you're saved.
yes, but then you're saved, but to get closer into him, get baptized. But then, you start making bad choices. It's kind of like a rumbling storm coming out. And then saying, no, God, I don't want to listen to you. I want to have my own life. Far apart. The person starts moving. So it's a developing process.
Yes, right.
To come to God.
And to stay in there.
Mm-hmm.
But he never leaves us, does he?
No.
Thank you, Brizelle.